गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू गनर शॉट। गनर शॉट में आप सबका दोबारा स्वागत है। प्रणाम, जय हिंद एंड वणक्कम। आज दोबारा हम बात करने वाले हैं द एंड ऑफ चाइनाज 100 ईयर मैराथन। और आज हम बात करेंगे जियोपॉलिटिकल स्प्लिट्स के बारे में, और ये पार्ट 5 है। और इसके बारे में चर्चा करने के लिए मेरे साथ हैं मिस्टर श्री अय्यर, पी गुरुस के साथ। Good evening, Shri Iyer ji. Welcome to this new episode of ours. It's our joint episode, fifth episode. Very interesting. And before I talk, your views, and then we'll get going.
नमस्कार, सत श्री अकाल, राम राम सभी दर्शकों को और आपको भी जनरल साहब। एंड इट्स ऑलवेज अ प्लेजर एंड एन ऑनर टू बी पार्ट ऑफ दिस डिस्कशन वेयर वी आर कंबाइनिंग. इट इज अवेलेबल लाइव राइट नाउ इन बोथ गनर शॉट एंड पी गुरुस. A small request to all of you to like this video wherever you are watching it, whether it is Gunner Shot or in P Gurus. And if you are not subscribed to the other channel, like say you're subscribed to P Gurus but not Gunner Shot or vice versa, do subscribe to that channel also. General Ravi Shankar is bringing some excellent talent that gives you a fairly good 360-degree view about how the defense forces of India work, what is the thinking that goes into it. Much better appreciation. While you sleep at night, somebody is guarding your back. That's the most important thing that India needs to appreciate. And I would say that for any country in the world. So thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar, for bringing this. I'm really keen on how we are going to, अब किस तरह से हम इस बात को सामने ले जाने वाले हैं, क्योंकि आजकल देखिए इतने हॉटस्पॉट्स हो गए हैं। तो इसमें बहुत ही एक इम्पोर्टेंट चीज जो हुई शी जिनपिंग और बाइडेन की मीटिंग में, इसके बारे में किसी ने अब तक बात भी नहीं किया, और वो ये कि शी जिनपिंग ने $800 बिलियन की मदद मांगी है यूएस से। $800 बिलियन। कब से हम कहते आ रहे हैं चाइना में कुछ गड़बड़ है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, ये बाहर आया है। ओवर टू यू सर।
या ये बिल्कुल मैं बताना चाहता हूँ जो श्रेया जी ने बताया। दो चीज, चाइना में गड़बड़ है, इसीलिए मैंने ये सीरीज शुरू किया था, क्योंकि आई बीन ए स्टूडेंट ऑफ चाइना फॉर द पास्ट 20 ईयर्स। पिछले 20 साल से चाइना पढ़ रहा हूँ, राइट। इनफैक्ट पिछले 40 साल से पढ़ रहा हूँ चाइना के बारे में, क्योंकि पहले 20-25 साल मैंने चाइना को एक सरहद के पार देखा, ऊपर काराकोरम से लेकर किबितुक तक, राइट। और अभी रिटायर होने के बाद और लास्ट फ्यू इयर्स ऑफ माय सर्विस उनको चारों तरफ से देखना शुरू किया, और तब से मेरे को पता था कि कुछ गड़बड़ है, और ये आजकल साबित हो रहा है, और इसीलिए मैंने ये सीरीज शुरू किया था। दूसरी बात, गनर शॉट में मैं बताना चाहता हूँ द बेस्ट ऑफ द डिफेंस फोर्सेस, बेस्ट ऑफ द एम्बेसडर्स, बेस्ट ऑफ सिविल सर्वेंट्स एंड बेस्ट ऑफ द एक्सपर्ट्स will come on gunner shot and talk, और मैं फैक्ट बेस्ड एनालिसिस ही करता हूँ। और अभी मैं बता रहा था, कल ही मैंने एक वीडियो किया था मणिपुर और म्यांमार के बारे में with General Shokin Chauhan, who was the DG Assam Rifles. In fact, yesterday we did it. Today is gone to Singapore. So I said we'll repeat it through P Gurus kuch din ke baad, but we'll do it because what is happening there is something which we should all know. And but for now we'll talk of China. और चाइना में क्या हो रहा है ये देखने वाली बात है, और क्योंकि चाइना में ये जो जियोपॉलिटिकल इश्यूज जो है वो बढ़ रहे हैं। सबसे पहले मैं बताना चाहता हूँ, जो अभी श्री अय्यर जी ने बताया कि उन्होंने मदद मांगा $800 बिलियन का फ्रॉम यूएस से। ये देखिए, ये आर्टिकल निकला 2 दिन पहले, ये बड़ा क्लियर है। इट्स अ फैंटास्टिक एनालिसिस बेस्ड ऑन चाइनीज इंफॉर्मेशन, चाइनीज डेटा। चाइना's rise is reversing। और इस आर्टिकल में ये बताया गया है वेरी इंटरेस्टिंगली कि द शेयर ऑफ चाइना in the global GDP is decreasing. In the past 2 years, it has decreased. While China remains a big contributor to the global GDP, others have grown, including USA, India, and Argentina, and all the Indonesia, Malaysia, and all. But China has contracted. Relatively, China is losing its traction. And that is something which many of us don't understand, and we are not probably getting the hang of what this is. I would suggest everyone to read this article. Okay. And the second, this is from South China Morning Post. You just see it's a dream being pricked of China going up. Chinese stocks have been $955 billion dollar blunder in 2023 for market forecasters. So what you see in China is that there are losses all around. We in our mind have not got out of that idea that China is not is rising. Actually, China is not rising, it is going down. Okay, we'll continue with our series of this 100-year marathon, and I'll go through the presentation and then we can discuss.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this 100-year marathon, if you remember, I spoke and I said uh, that's what the plan was, to become a superpower and all that. But when you analyze China, you look at these 6 entities: demography, ideology, structural issues, climate change, geopolitical splits, and the military. We've gone through one by one. When we looked at the demography, that was the first one, some 3-4 weeks back, we found that the nation, कोई भी देश जो है वो आदमियों से बनता है, लोगों से बनता है. ये जो वन चाइल्ड पॉलिसी है, इट हैज कंसाइंड चाइना टू एन इरिवोकेबल डेमोग्राफिक डिक्लाइन. इनका पॉपुलेशन जो है घट रहा है. इसका बर्थ रेट जो है 1.06 ही है. आम बर्थ रेट, रिप्लेसमेंट बर्थ रेट 2.1 होना चाहिए, उसका आधा. और वर्किंग एज पॉपुलेशन, एजिंग और ये बर्थ रेट्स वगैरह, इट्स एट द फास्टेस्ट रेट इन ह्यूमन हिस्ट्री डिक्लाइन. तो बिल्कुल राइट. और ये यूएन के चार्ट्स हैं, इसके मुताबिक देखिए सारा ग्राफ नीचे जा रहा है, सिवाय द ओनली मेट्रिक विच इज गोइंग अप इज ओल्ड एज पॉपुलेशन. ये चाइना 2030 के बाद बुढ़ों का देश हो जाएगा. राइट. जहां तक इसका आइडियोलॉजी है, हमने देखा कि चाइना ग्रू एस्ट्रोनॉमिकली इन द पोस्ट माओ एरा, बट द सीसीपी वाज लूजिंग कंट्रोल. Xi Jinping was appointed as a general secretary of the party to restore state control and re-establish totalitarian power. In the process, पिछले 10 साल से he's eradicated all alternate centers of power. Political power has trumped economy. Important है ये. पहले आपने श्री जी ने बताया कि ये एपेक मीट में क्या हुआ था, और जो मैंने आर्टिकल पहले दिखाया था, इसका इकोनॉमी डाउन होते जा रहा है रोज ब रोज. और पॉलिटिकल पावर इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट एंड इंक्रीजिंग इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ सिक्योरिटी लॉस. जब तक जी जिनपिंग पावर में है, ये अवस्था बदलेगी नहीं और चाइना का पावर घटता जाएगा. फिर हमने देखा इनका इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर. हमने इकोनॉमिक स्ट्रक्चर में बहुत चीजें देखा. हमने देखा इसका एक्सपोर्ट जल रहे हैं, जैसे ये कार्टून में दिखाया गया. राइट. इसका इन्वेस्टमेंट बाहर से हो नहीं रहा, पैसा बाहर जा रहा है. राइट. सर्विसेज बढ़ नहीं रहे हैं, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाए जा रहे हैं जो इनको जरूरत नहीं, उसमें पैसा डुबोए जा रहे हैं और पर कंजम्पशन नहीं हो. क्योंकि इनका the economic structure on which the Chinese economic structure is weak. It is lopsided and they are not able to get out of that structure. And they don't have a new playbook for this. Nor can they politically afford to change, because change means loss. A loss of GDP of up to 2 to 3%. This चौथा पार्ट में हमने देखा क्लाइमेट चेंज के बारे में. क्लाइमेट चेंज में देखा हमने कि चाइना में ये हालत है कि ड्राउट्स एंड फ्लड्स हैव बीन एंडेमिक टू चाइना फ्रॉम टाइम इमेमोरियल. चाइनीज डायनेस्टीज हैव कोलैप्स्ड ड्यू टू ड्राउट, फैमिन्स एंड फ्लड्स. अभी हाल में जो इनके फ्लड्स हुए और ड्राउट्स हुए, उसमें बहुत नुकसान हुआ है. और इनका ये बात बड़ा क्लियर निकला है कि फूड सिक्योरिटी, एनर्जी और ओवरऑल जीडीपी जो है ये घटने वाला है. क्यों? क्लाइमेट चेंज तो सबको असर पड़ेगा, पर चाइना में जो असर होने वाला है वो अलग है, क्योंकि उसका ज्योग्राफी एंड उनका जो क्लाइमेटिक स्ट्रक्चर इज क्वाइट अ बिट. डेजर्टिफिकेशन बढ़ रहा है. राइट. और ये सिर्फ मेरा और किसी का विचार नहीं है, ये एक वर्ल्ड बैंक का रिपोर्ट है जो मैंने उस वीडियो में पूरा दिखाया था। तो अभी हम देखेंगे जियोपॉलिटिकल स्प्लिट्स। 4 देख लिया, 5वां हम जियोपॉलिटिकल स्प्लिट्स देखेंगे। राइट, जैसे मैंने बताया, प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू गना शॉट, और उसके साथ साथ प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू पी गुरुस। जैसे श्री अय्यर जी ने बताया, अगर आप हमारे साथ सब्सक्राइब किए हो तो पी गुरुस में सब्सक्राइब कीजिए, अगर वहां सब्सक्राइब पी गुरुस में आप सब्सक्राइब करो तो यहाँ भी सब्सक्राइब कीजिए और मेंबर्स भी बनिए। ओके, अगर आप जियोपॉलिटिक्स देखेंगे, इन द प्री कोविड वर्ल्ड चाइना वाज सेट टू बिकम अ सुपर पावर एंड एवरीवन वाज वेलकमिंग इट। पर कोविड के दौरान जो वुल्फ वॉरियर बिहेवियर था, उससे इट बिल्ट डिस्ट्रस्ट and China posited a global threat. We all know China suppressed COVID related information, because of which the whole world suffered. And then it carried out military assertion to usurp territories. ईस्टर्न लद्दाख में हमारे साथ प्रॉब्लम हुआ, साउथ चाइना सी में, और हांगकांग को तो हड़प ही लिया। और इसमें it violated all its international treaties and promises, खास करके हांगकांग के साथ। Hong Kong was to be under the second system rule up to 2050. That's gone. It was also carried out repeated military drills and enhanced naval and air activity in Taiwan Strait. And it has posed a military threat to all nations of the Western Pacific, including Japan, South Korea, Philippines, and Vietnam. Now, all these nations are antagonistic to China. Geopolitically, it has gone away from everyone. There's no trust. Relations are bad. Okay. Now let's see each of this. इसमें क्या क्या हुआ है, क्यों हुआ है, how has this geopolitical split happened? पहले देखिए internal isolation. What has China done? It has internally isolated people so that they can't go out and interact with the outside world at free will. They can't take their money out. They can't do anything. And they built that great firewall, internet wall, by which they don't know what's happening in the outside world. They only know what China is telling them. Now, the next point, external isolation. So, through this, the reverse process of this is externally, no one can interact with China. And if they do interact with China, it is a controlled interaction. So, the combination of these two has what has happened, it has separated China from the rest of the world. Till such time the going was good, China was making money, but no more. Then it has had this global initiative on security, global development initiative, global civilization initiative, and of course the BRI. Now all these initiatives started with haziness, and all of a sudden the true sense of all these initiatives have been coming out. As a result, people have lost trust in China, which I'm going to talk of later on also. Then there's been this thing of external hegemony, that it put out a new map where it wants part of India, full part of South China Sea, major parts of Taiwan and everything. And it has been militarily assertive all over. It has been carrying out naval drills, all that which I spoke about. Then the competition with USA. And this competition is IPR theft, it's not only IPR theft, it is also academic theft, research theft in cutting edge technologies of AI, cyber, material technology, space technology, everything. It wants to push out USA and become the number one superpower. But that's not going to happen. But what has happened because of this competition is that it has gone and ruffled everyone's feathers. Today, in the past 3 years, the change is great and no one wants to do business with China. And during COVID, what started as de-risking, relocation of supply chains, today people are talking of decoupling and de-risking. Then, of course, the BRI debt trap. Hambantota, Sri Lanka, these are prime examples. It is not only this. Look at Pakistan. Pakistan has become a vassal state of China. And not only here, also in Africa. Look at Zambia, Gambia, Angola, Kenya, Tanzania, all these, Bolivia. Today I was reading, Bolivia is also under a debt trap with China. Now, all these countries today cannot buy anything from China, nor can they repay with China. So, geopolitically, they are under coercion by China. They're not willing partners. Then, of course, its role in conflicts. On one hand, it says it supports Ukraine and wants Russia to uh, come to a end game. But it has been supporting Russia on the other hand. It sent an envoy to EU and Russia. And finally, EU diplomat said, look, you're telling us the Russian story. You want us to agree to what Russia has said. So get lost. So China was marginalized there. And China is getting marginalized even in the Hamas Israel conflict. Though all the Arab nations have gone to China today, but then they are going to all of the big five. It's not only China, right? China doesn't seem to have a role in the Middle East, despite great this thing. So geopolitically, it's sitting on the sidelines. And then, of course, trust. It has violated all international norms, all treaties. It had promised that it will not build the South China Sea Islands, but it broke that promise. It had promised that they will allow Hong Kong to have one China and to function under the one China, two systems policy till 2015. It broke. So there's no trust. It says one thing and does another thing. So there's no trust. So geopolitically, China is completely, untrustworthy. And geopolitically, where there are splits, how can it, be a powerful nation? It can be a powerful nation for some, till a certain extent. After that, there is no way it can be as powerful as USA is. And off late, the thing is that it's not even as powerful as India in settling global affairs. Then, of
सर
course,
जी एक बात मैं, if you don't mind,
yeah, please, बोलिए.
आप जरा पीछे जाइए, वो स्लाइड के जो सर्कल्स के जो स्लाइड थी वहां पर जाइए आप कृपया.
हाँ, देख जाएंगे.
इससे पहले वाला. तो मैं हिंदी में पूछना चाहता हूं. देखिए, ये जो कंपटीशन विद यूएसए है वो एक है, और रोल इन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स में लोग सब जानते हैं कि शायद चाइना का सीधा हाथ ना हो हमास के साथ, लेकिन उसका जो डिफेंस चीफ था, जो कि सबकी जो स्ट्रेटेजाइज कर रहा था, उसके दो चीनी बीवियां हैं. वो दोनों को ना, वो यहाँ वो 20-25 साल से वो चाइना के साथ बहुत निकटतम काम किया है उसने. अब टनल्स में कई चीनी लोगों को पकड़ा गया है इजराइल से. और अब देखिए, इनके दो चमचे हैं. मैं चमचा बोलता हूं, मैं सीधी सीधी बोल देता हूं. सर जी, आप थोड़ा वो डिप्लोमेटिकली बोलते हैं, मैं तो बोलता हूं चमचा है. ईरान एक चमचा है, नॉर्थ कोरिया एक और चमचा है. इनके हाथों से, इनके नाम पर हुतीस को इन्होंने मिसाइल दिए हैं, और हमास को भी दिए हैं, हिजबुल्लाह को भी दिए हैं. तो जब इतना आपने यूएस के अगेंस्ट काम किया है, तो क्या मुंह लेकर शी जिनपिंग जाकर पूछ रहे हैं कि भैया बाबा मुझे $800 बिलियन का एक एड दे दे? तो ये मैं समझने में मेरी कोशिश हो रही. आप इतना ये करते हैं, आप वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर को से उसको उल्टा करने की कोशिश करते हैं, उसके बाद जाकर फिर आप भीख मांगते हैं. मुझे ये बात समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. थोड़ा आप इस पर थोड़ा और मे बी लिटिल बिट इनसाइट के भाई क्या इस लेवरेज क्या है चाइना के लिए?
लुक, द ओनली लेवरेज जो चाइना का है ऑन यूएसए इज दैट द बिजनेसेस and the financial structure and a lot of things are tied with each other between China and USA. इन दोनों के क्यों ये जो पिछले 20 साल से ये जो गठबंधन ने इनका जो लिंक्स डेवलप हुए हैं, they can't be broken up overnight. A lot of items are still sourced from China. You can't get away from that. right? So China still, we have to realize that China is still a big economy. It's the second largest economy, and it is still, because of the 20 years, past 20 years, इसका जो free run मिला इसको, it has established certain structures to its benefit, right? And you cannot get away from them. So it has the leverage of those structures. It has also occupied important positions in international organizations, it or its proxies. So there are leverages. So to a large extent, there are leverages. And of course, we have to remember, after the global financial crisis, it was USA which went to China to bail it out. Right? At that time, USA was in a bad shape. The relations between China and USA were good, and China did what it had to do. So it is getting a favor back. And in all fairness, I think USA is being magnanimous, because also we have to remember, if a country like China goes down too fast, there are going to be global repercussions, which are not good. So part of this decline of China is how we manage China's decline, right?
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर. We can resume normal programming.
Yeah. So there is a huge dynamic to this, right? So we'll go over all this and see where it is going. Okay, right. As part of its rejuvenation of this China dream, it wants to attack Taiwan. Then the China has held the world at ransom with its manufacturing prowess. This is the first operative part. It also answers the question जो आपने पूछा था कि what is the leverage? Its manufacturing prowess. You can still not get away with its exports have come down, but it's not zero. Now this has started a irreversible decoupling of de-risking process, and also USA has put in place sanctions and technology denial. And then of course, in the Ukrainian war, West suspects China of supporting Russia through its no limits friendship. Okay. Now, the other things which I spoke, इन्होंने एक नया मैप दिखा दिया जहां large swathes of continental and maritime territories of many nations have been shown as Chinese, including complete Arunachal Pradesh. It also China insists on showcasing its revisionist authoritarian political model to the rest of the world as a success. अगर आप देखेंगे तो पिछले 1-2 साल में बार बार बताता आया है China is the best, our model is better than the democratic model. It was mocking the rest of the world during COVID, right? In the short run, its export oriented model, manufacturing economy has already been severely hit. जो पहले slide में आपको दिखाया था, and that article came out just 2 days back, and there's no chance of reversal. ये हमने पहले भी इसके बारे में बात किया. अब मैं दिखाता हूं. We'll just talk a little about this EPEC conference and the Z Biden meet. What was the Z Biden meet all about? The summit hit pause on troubled US China relations. It has delivered only modest deals, very modest deals. क्या है? That military to military dialogue will resume. फैंटानिल के ऊपर कुछ रोक लगाएंगे, कुछ एफर्ट होगा. And AI के ऊपर we will get to a common ground, but beyond that nothing, because the basics have not changed. And these are all reports of the Chinese. These are not my reports. These are not the reports of the Western press. These are reports from South China Morning Post, where Xi Biden talks clear the low bar for success. That's what they say, but bigger hurdles loom. So this summit has been just showcasing that things are going on and all that, to keep things going so that there's no complete breakdown. A breakdown is not good either for China or for USA or for the rest of the world. And in this, we have to be very clear that we have to manage how we get out of this trap. And खास करके India is under a problem because our trade deficit with China is very high. So we have to be very careful how we have to sidestep China's decline. Okay. This is what EU feels. This is the feeling of the EU. This is not, you don't go into the other things. He says EU feels we were not hard enough with China, right? They are regretting it, how they allowed China to come where it has come. Okay, in this, the EU leader, Ursula von der Leyen, she has very clearly told EU states, de-risk from China or face trouble internally. She is put out a diktat. So that de-risking is also going on. Okay. And then de-risking from China means the question is how far will the West go? How calibrated it can be? It is happening. There's no two ways about it. It is organically happening. Okay. So this is something which is a fact and this part of the geopolitical splits. Then you see the China's map, which the new standard map, where it has said part of South China and part of India is there, has been viewed as unlawful. So it has antagonized USA also. Everyone is antagonistic with this new map because a whole lot of countries have been affected by this. Their interests have been affected. And then this is their own commentary, which says Beijing's approach in South China Sea will badly backfire in future. Because in South China Sea, it is very clearly saying it is either my way or the highway. और किसी को छूट नहीं दे रहा है उसमें. किसी के साथ बातचीत करके सुलह करने का इसका मूड ही नहीं है. ओके, ये देखिए, ये भी है और उनको डर है कि साउथ चाइना सी में यूएस और चाइना का वॉर कभी भी छूट सकता है, कभी भी इट कैन स्टार्ट ऑफ. एंड देन there's a whole bouquet of articles which says which shows the state of relations between Philippines, South Korea, Japan, Australia, Vietnam, Brunei, and all these against China. And if you see the headlines, I will not go through it. अगर आपको क्लियर पता चलेगा कि these countries are now prepared, are getting into a system where they're preparing to, get into a I wouldn't say alliance, a partnership with each other to come to each other's aid if China invades them. And simultaneously, I must say, Abhi, as of today, we are doing a, exercise with USA in the Northeast shortly, right? Or with our special forces. We are going to do 2 or 3 major exercises with Australia, around Australia. And all these exercises, let's be very clear, are to contain China. That is the level. In fact, if you see the level of Indo-US, Indo-Japan, Australia, these exercises, you will see there's a marked, upward trajectory on these in the past 3 years. Okay. Then, of course, our relations with India, we are very clear as to where they are. They're using Pakistan as a cat's paw against us. And they're now involved in Myanmar. They're involved very heavily in Myanmar, which is going to be a problem for us. Okay. उसके अलावा देखिए, EU has launched a probe into the electrical vehicle industry. Everyone thought that China's electrical EV industry will give them tremendous dividends and revive their economy. But EU has started a probe. Lack of trust. Because China is cheating. Very simple. Okay. Then, of course, the German foreign minister has very clearly said how China uses influence on Russia is the key to its ties with Europe. In fact, there's a report which I read just 2 days back which says China is now rethinking of its ties with Russia. Whether it is true or false, we don't know, but this is happening. Right? So, China is under tremendous pressure And the limits of its power, overall comprehensive national power, is being shown out through this geopolitical splits which are happening all over. Then, of course, this is something which I just read. I just read half an hour back, and I took a snapshot of it and put it in. Malaysia is now going ahead with Australia to develop rare earths in Malaysia because there's some cache of rare earths in Malaysia. And it has kept China out of the deal. तो अगर आप देखिए किसी तरीके से आप देखिए चाइना का हालत, राइट, इट इज geopolitically at odds with almost everyone, all major countries. As a result, China's power to influence global affairs is going down. And of course, that is being absolutely seen it was seen in the Ukraine and Russia war, where it could do no influence. That war is still going on, and in the Russia Israel Hamas war, where no one is even listening to it. Right. So this is this aspect of a thing. Now again, we have to look at all this from a 360-degree view. We have only covered 300 degrees today with geopolitics. Next week, when we cover the military, we'll get the 360-degree view. And then, of course, we'll have a session to see what the whole thing is and what it means to India. Right? So with this, I've covered the entire geopolitics of China, where it is going. आपका प्रश्न है, आप we can start a discussion. फिर हम सवाल लेंगे जो आप सोचते हो करना है.
बहुत बहुत खूबसूरती तरीके से आपने दिखाया सब चीज जनरल रविशंकर जी, और हम पी गुरुस के तरफ से हम आपके आभार हैं. ये जो चल रही है इसमें इतने लेयर्स हैं कि आपको जब बैठकर सोचेंगे तो अरे क्या इतनी बड़ी समस्या यहाँ पर पैदा हुई है. कहीं आप देखिए, आपको चीन सिर्फ एक डायरेक्शन से आपको अटैक नहीं कर रहा है, वो सेवरल डायरेक्शंस साइमल्टेनियसली अटैक कर रहा है, खास करके भारत को. उसको हमेशा ये मन में डर है कि भारत हमसे आगे निकल रहा है, उसको किसी भी तरह से उस पर रोक लगाई जाए. अब देखिए 2020 में अक्टूबर में हुआ था, चीन ने कहा था कि हम आपकी इलेक्ट्रिसिटी ग्रिड को उतार सकते हैं, रोक सकते हैं, कभी भी रोक सकते हैं. भारत ने कुछ कहा नहीं, क्या कर सकते हैं आप. तो उसके बाद वो डेमोन्स्ट्रेट करने के लिए अक्टूबर में हुआ था. ये 13 घंटों के लिए मुंबई की एक सेक्शन बिना इलेक्ट्रिसिटी के थी. तो उसके बाद जब उसकी इन्वेस्टिगेशन हुई तो माना गया कि देखा गया कि जो इलेक्ट्रिकल सबसिस्टम्स थे, जो स्टेशंस थे, उसके जो इक्विपमेंट थी, ये सब भारत ने चीन से खरीदी थी. जो भी हो, जो भी कंपनी ने इंस्टॉल किया है. अब उसके बाद उसमें और थोड़ा अंदर जाने के बाद पता चला कि इसके जो कंट्रोल सॉफ्टवेयर जो था, इसका एक्सेस भारत के बाहर से भी लोगों को कर सकते थे. तो इसकी वजह से ही इन्होंने इसको बंद कर दिया था. तो भारत ने उसके बाद फोर्टिफाई तो किया है. मैं ये मिसाल इसलिए कह रहा हूं कि आप समझते हैं कि एक आक्रमण होगा तो लोग आएंगे अरुणाचल से या लद्दाख से आएंगे. ये नहीं है. आज वॉर हो रहा है मल्टीपल लेयर्स में, मल्टीपल फ्रंट्स में और मल्टीपल टाइप्स में हो रहा है. तो ये इसके लिए भारत को भी एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्ट्रैटेजी बनानी पड़ेगी. मुझे पता है कि कुछ हो रहा है इसके बारे में, तो इसके बारे में 2 मिनट आप थोड़ा कि ओवरऑल स्ट्रैटेजी, इट्स नॉट वन प्लेस, इट्स फ्रॉम मेनी डायरेक्शंस. इसके बारे में आप थोड़ा सा जोर कीजिए, उसके बाद हम दर्शकों के प्रश्न ले लेते हैं.
You see, इंडिया का जो स्ट्रेटेजी है विद टू डील विद चाइना चेंज्ड इन 2020. उन्होंने जब आक्रमण किया हमारे ऊपर और जिस तरीके से उन्होंने सलूक किया गलवान में, हमने चेंज किया. उसमें हमने क्या क्या किया, कुछ चीजें किया. आई विल टेल यू व्हाट ऑल वी डिड. फर्स्ट, हमने वी बैंड चाइनीज कंपनीज फ्रॉम बिडिंग इन प्रोजेक्ट्स. नॉट चाइनीज कंपनीज, all those we banned all nations which have a border with India to bid for projects in India without government clearance, and government didn't clear any one of them. That's the first thing which we did. Second thing which we did was we banned them from acquisition of or ब्लू चिप कंपनीज आल्सो, क्योंकि इन्होंने एचडीएफसी को टेक ओवर करने का कोशिश किया. Then we were the only country who has banned so many Chinese
Software.
videos and apps, right? Including TikTok, which और किसी ने नहीं किया आज तक. Okay, and then we banned all their, what shall I say, their Confucius institutes and all. We just closed them. They're all then none left. Okay, then we went and stopped all Vivo, Oppo, all these people, mobile manufacturers who are, siphoning funds out of India. They have been put on, many of them have been, put under the cosh, and we fined them. And we have not let them enter our markets. So these are the few things. We have very clear strategy. We have an economic strategy in place. We have a military strategy in place. And then we started developing strategic partnerships with countries on 2+2 basis, so that our foreign policy and our defense policy goes hand in hand. And that has resulted in a strategic partnership with France. It started with USA, Japan, Australia, and all. Australia was a big revival. Then we went into Quad. Quad was a arrangement which we resisted going into for a long time. Right from the time when late Shinzo Abe wanted us to get into it in 2007. From then we avoided it. But finally in 2020 we jumped into it. Then we went into the I2U2. And we have also started going into places where Chinese influence has grown, and we have given them competition. खास करके Middle East or Africa, right? So we have a clear-cut strategy as to how to handle it. And of course, we have our own strengths. We are playing to our strengths rather than thinking of anything else. And we have strengths in food. Food security is our strength. Food surplus is our strength. We are using it to good measure. So these are some of the strategies we have adopted to keep China at bay. And then, of course, our economy. We are the fastest growing economy on Mother Earth today. इसकी वजह से लोग हमारे पास आ रहे हैं निवेश करने के लिए, चाइना से निकाल के यहाँ आ रहे हैं. और तो और हमारा जो PLI स्कीम है, उसके जरिए बहुत सैमसंग, एप्पल वगैरह यहाँ कारोबार लगा रहे हैं. और ये कारोबार जो भी यहाँ लगा रहे हैं, इट इज अगेंस्ट व्हाट इज देयर इन चाइना. चाइना में घट रहा है और यहाँ बढ़ रहा है. So there's a lot happening. It's a multi-dimensional approach we have taken. And you must remember, militarily, we have a second aircraft carrier now operational. And we are one of the few navies, along with the American Navy, to have done a 2-carrier operation. It's a very tricky thing for those of you who don't know. 2 carriers in tandem carrying out operations. When 2 carriers in tandem carry out operations, you cover a huge area. China has not been able to do even 1 carrier operation well so far. So that is the differential. When people say China will enter Indian Ocean and all, there's a long way off. So these are the few things which I thought I'll tell you, will put across. और सवाल हैं तो आप और कोई भी चर्चा करने के लिए है?
नहीं, आप दर्शकों के प्रश्न ले लेते हैं.